Welcome, students, to the McDojo. Hopefully everybody's having a fantastic day. It is obviously our Beef of the Week show, and I am excited to announce our guests before I announce our guests. And before we talk about all the things we'll be doing later on in January for your viewing pleasure, I want to say a big thank you to the team over at Brinks TV and Killcliff. If it wasn't for those guys actually checking up on me and making sure I'm doing my job, I probably wouldn't. So thank you, Courtney. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate the hell out of y'all, man. I got to tell you also, it's delicious. That's why they sponsor me. If it wasn't, I would not drink it. But anyway, I digress. Hopefully everybody's having a fantastic day. My guest today is a homie, an internet homie, I guess you could say. There's a lot of us online who make content, and there are a select group of people, I guess you could say, that make content specifically from the martial arts industry. And they all just happen to get along and get to know each other for the most part. So I want to bring you in. Sensei Seth, come on in, brother. How you doing?
What is up? Yeah, I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to just beef in general, all kinds, really.
I mean, it depends on the word usage. I mean, you could be beefing right now, and that would be very smelly in your office.
That's a good point. Yeah, no, I mean, I did that before the show, so
just get it out of the way so it doesn't pick up on the mic.
The aroma's there, but you don't have to worry about it, you know?
Ode to Seth by Calvin Klein. It's a very fragrant aroma.
Super, yeah.
So I want to say thank you for hopping on the show. I think, obviously you've had a fairly busy schedule. You've been banging out content like crazy, which is great. It's cool to see that your growth has been exponential in the last year. I mean, it really has shot up. I even saw your stuff on news articles, which was really cool. I saw your stuff on sites outside of the martial arts industry. So I think that's an amazing thing. Can you tell me a little bit about this last year? What's been going on?
Yeah, it's been crazy. I feel like I have been essentially just making videos based off of the stupid ideas I've had in my head my entire life. But now, because they are in actual video form, other people enjoy them, which is fun. It's cool. So a lot of these things, which I played games in kids karate when I was a child, or the stupid thoughts we have in our head as kids or as teenagers, or I guess as now, obviously, are now a thing that other people can watch and other people enjoy, apparently, which is it's really cool. It's fun. So it's been tons of getting to meet the people that I watched for so long, and yeah, it's been really cool. It's been a fun time.
Yeah, man. You know what it kind of reminds me of is, I started when I was 12, and I've been at it for about 24 years. And over the years, when you start as a kid and you work your way up to being an adult in the industry, it's a much different thing because you got the opportunity to experience the entire gambit of martial arts, right? I was a kid in kids karate, and then I was an assistant, and then I was the lead instructor, and then I owned my own school, and so on and so on. But then, I agree with you. You have these thoughts in your head about well, this is fucking dumb, or this is really goofy, or this would be fun to do. But the internet, when I was younger, wasn't as relevant as it is now. And so now we have the opportunity, kind of like the movie Step Brothers, where it's oh my God, you got night vision goggles. I wish you had these as a kid. And they're no, it's better. We got them when we're 40. It's goofy as hell, as an adult, which is really cool. And I think it brings levity to an industry that takes itself way too seriously sometimes. Everybody's hard nosed, it has to work in the street. No, it doesn't. 75% of people who go to martial arts never compete. Why do you think that is? It's because there's more to this than kicking people.
Yeah, right. There's so many people who are just martial arts hobbyists, people who do martial arts because it makes them healthier, or just straight up they enjoy it. So that's kind of the angle that I wanted to take, that's always been me. I've always taken martial arts because it was around me and because I enjoyed it. So I figured I would make videos, because I enjoy it.
I had Mike on the show, Icy Mike from Hard to Hurt, for anybody who follows the show. But for you guys have been seems to be kind of homies, right? Y'all do content all the time. I see y'all hanging out all the time. How did you meet Mike?
So this is actually a funny story. I met Mike at a Shane Faison seminar.
Another YouTuber.
I met him at a different YouTuber seminar. I had no idea who Mike was. So at the time, I started off doing videos on Instagram, the whole bottle cap challenge thing. That was my shtick. So I'm doing that stuff, and like it's starting to do pretty well. And I've gone like mini martial artsy viral once or twice. So I had reached out to Shane. He was like, "Yeah, I'm having a seminar in Charlotte," and I was like, "Oh, cool! Like I'll come to it." Like with the intent of like meeting Shane and like getting some tips on like internet stuff. And in the process, at the end of the seminar, Shane's like, "Yeah, we've got a cool guest here. Thanks so much for coming. Obviously, you guys know who it is." And I'm like, what is happening right now? Like, this is wild. I like in on my insides, I'm like, is this happening? He's talking about me?
About me?
Yeah, right. Okay, cool, sweet. And then he's like, Icy Mike, and I'm like, oh, that's awkward. But immediately I have like I'm like sitting down, we're all sitting down, he's standing up in the seminar. I'm like about to get up and like fix my tie and go say what's up to everybody. And then he's like, Icy Mike. Ooh. And so and then afterwards, Shane and I are talking and we get like a thumbnail because I was gonna do a vlog video of me meeting him. And then Mike is like kind of pushing me out of the way so we can talk to Shane and they can talk about YouTube stuff. Mike obviously has no idea who I am. I don't know who Mike is. Fast forward like 3 weeks, we're doing a video together. And then ever since that first video, we collected, it's always been fun content since then. But yeah, no, it started off with super embarrassment.
Well, you know what that reminds me of? It's kind of like when the instructor is up at the front of the class and somebody's about to get promoted and you're like, oh my God, they're talking about me. This is my moment. And then they call someone else up and you're like, damn it. I thought this was the time. This is
right. This guy's not even as good as I am.
Well, I gotta say, like, I appreciate the hell out of y'all, man. I learn a lot from you guys, especially watching y'all's growth and watching how you handle stuff. Like, I guess when people who are in the industry look at things a little differently than people who aren't. And so rather than just looking at the content's always good in general, but the way that you guys present it, even little stuff like how thumbnails are put together and stuff like that means a lot. People who don't pay attention to that don't know that it does, but it damn sure does.
Yeah.
So it's cool, man. It's cool to have other people who are like-minded.
Yeah.
Now, I hit you up for the show and I asked you to like put together some fights, right? And I said, what's the fantasy? What's the main event? And so I took the fantasy and the main event and I went ahead and used yours because I thought they were so good and I can't wait to talk about those, but we didn't have a pass beat. So I found out something that I didn't know. We're going to discover this as we go along here. And let's go ahead and just, before I announce it, let's just go ahead and pull up the tail of the tape. So that way you can see who this first past beef is. This is the real beef. The real beef we will talk about. R2-D2 versus C3PO. That's right. This was an actual real life beef between the actors, and we're going to talk about this.
Between the actors?
The actual actors. There was a dude in that robot, and there was a dude in that suit, just so you know. So R2-D2, 66 years old, apparently, according to nerds online who know about this stuff. He's about 3'6", about 70 pounds, which I call BS because he looks bottom heavy. He looks heavy as shit. All right. Note the actor that played him, his name is Kenny Baker, and we'll talk about that in a moment. C3PO apparently is 112 years old. Now, based off of the Star Wars lore, C3PO was put together by Anakin Skywalker, made of parts of mostly one particular droid. That particular droid that was put together was 112 years old. Height, he's about 5'10" and weighs about 165 pounds. I could see that, but he's metal. So again, I don't get it. But then the actor that played this guy, his name is Anthony Daniels, and apparently is a pretentious asshole. And we're going to talk about that. So let's go ahead and pull this down real fast. And before we talk about all the beef, all right, and what really happened between these guys, I just want you to do me a favor and let's just go ahead and hypothetical. If these two robots got into a fight, who you got?
I mean, it's easy. First off, I guess you should ask the question: Has C3PO been wiped yet?
See, I think we're going to go off of episode 3. We'll go off episode 4. We'll go with A New Hope. We'll go with the first one anybody ever saw. A New Hope. Well, first introduction to these guys. We'll go there. How about that?
Okay, love it. Yeah, I mean, I feel like the obvious answer. What was the weight again? The weight was,
well, I think
70.
R2-D2 was like 66 pounds or so, and I think C3PO was about 165 off the top of my head.
Man, I find that hard to believe, but
again, I agree.
I feel like it's You almost have to look at it from like a what was that TV show they had about the robots that people built that to fight each other?
Oh, BattleBots.
BattleBots.
I feel like he's actually an announcer on that. Shout out to Kenny Florian for all the
was he really?
That's hilarious. He's like a legit announcer on there.
I feel like you have to look at it almost from like a BattleBots perspective, you know?
Okay, I got you.
Because yes, C-3PO has limbs, but how useful can they really be? You know? Here's what I'm thinking. R2-D2 has proven time and time and again to be way more useful in general, and anything that doesn't come to just like language.
Yeah, fair enough. And then somehow people can still understand R2-D2. Have you ever noticed that when he's like, beep, 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 they can still understand him? It's like a weird thing. Like
they're like
binary or something.
Exactly. Yeah. So maybe even not even language. But yeah, what I'm thinking is, R2-D2's got a lot of tools to beat him. Like he literally has a lot of tools.
Yeah, every once in a while, whatever the situation, something pops out his chest and handles it.
Yeah, right. It's like two screws, and all of a sudden C-3PO has no legs. If they can't move, they can't fight. I doubt C-3PO's got the upper body strength to just kind of like pull himself around by his arms and also attack. I think as a robot, he's not like super sturdily built compared to how R2-D2 literally can like angle himself off in different ways. He can make himself like a ramp and just kind of like snow plow his way underneath him. I think this one's a real clear winner in my opinion. I got R2.
I gotta say, I agree. I think that I would go. The only perk that C-3PO would have is the fact that he does have limbs, right? So he might be able to kick that little turd across the room.
That's true.
I've never seen him be physical. Like he's always, I think he was programmed with like some kind of bitch made program where it's like you have to be kind of cowardly. And so I think that at the moment R2 would step up, that he would just like be terrified, right? And R2 is so much of a boss. He's been hit multiple times by C-3PO and just kind of shook it off. Like, I know I can kill you, so I'm going to let it ride.
Right. But, yeah, exactly. Like you just get like an immediate like, oh no, and then that's it. That's fight. You know what I mean? It's over.
I've done it again. And then he gets beaten down.
Yeah, right.
And like R2 is like crotch level, so I don't know if that's going to affect a robot, but I'm assuming that if that was like a Krav Maga type situation, he's just headbutting the goodies or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, ding, ding,
ding. But there was an actual beef, and I want to go ahead and pull that up on the screen real fast so I can read this article. It's a very short article, but it kind of gives you an idea of like what the actors in general were like. There we go. If we can just zoom in just a hair for me, it'd be appreciated. I might be able to get or we can. All pretentious, I do believe.
Yeah, how fitting is it though that the guy who plays C-3PO is the pretentious one?
Like he just played himself, really.
Yeah, right. I feel like that was like a practical joke by George Lucas, like who maybe just already didn't like this guy and is like, I've got just the guy. I have just a character for you. You're gonna love it. It's gonna be great.
The irony is he reads the script and he's like, I cannot stand this character. And George Lucas is laughing like, I wrote him to be you.
He is you. Yeah, right. He like almost just painted him gold and didn't put him in a suit and just made him act like a robot.
I bet you that was the first draft. He's like in the gold paint, like, this is stupid. George Lucas is like, we have a real suit. Let's just keep painting him, though. This will be fun.
They painted him underneath the suit. So he had to get painted up every day and then get in the suit.
And you never see it. You never. No. But it's like that paint that has to come off with like a paint thinner or something. It doesn't just like come off.
Yeah, they've got like a pressure washer. Just I hate this job. Oh no.
Well, I think we're both under the same impression about the victor here. I think I'm giving it to R2D2. I think it's a landslide, but I just thought it was a very interesting beef that this actor who hated this role, the only reason that I have even ever heard his name is because of this role. And I find that ironic.
Yeah, no, that's kind of crazy. That's yeah, I wonder, like, how long he was he in any of the other movies?
Yeah, I think he was in every one of them. I think every time C3PO had appeared on screen, I think he was the guy.
That's hilarious that it was something that he had such a disdain for. Nobody knew who he was for it, and he still was like, I'm gonna get that R2D2 at some point. Like, in one of these movies, I'm gonna like just keep kicking him. Like, probably those aren't even scripted. He's just like, he's just kicking the can.
The director's like, leave it in.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, it's fine. It's whatever. Put in like a wow or something, and it'll set itself up. It'll be fine.
Dude, you're nailing these impressions, man. You got these impressions down. You got C3PO to a T and R2D2, which is impressive.
Yeah, made up robots. They're like my thing, you know?
Well, I don't know if you've ever watched Westworld, but if you're into made up robots, Westworld's the jam.
I actually don't think I have.
What?
Anyway, no, I don't think so.
Oh, dude. So I'm gonna help you out just with life in general. All right.
Okay.
I've not seen Westworld. The original movies, there are two original movies. There's Westworld and then there's Future World. Westworld is much better as an original movie, but the concept of Westworld turned out so much better for the series that they did. And the same dude who made Jurassic Park, a movie about a park that goes awry and the attractions kill the people, made another thing called Westworld where the park attractions kill people, the irony. But when it comes down to the way the show works is people basically just go there to this West world, which there are a lot of other worlds, and they go there to just basically be terrible human beings because they're doing it to robots and there are no consequences to killing or doing anything to a robot. So
I see. That does sound good. I thought Westworld was the one about the two different groups of people, and they come out with the knives, and they're like where they walk through the street. That's Westworld, no?
That's West Side Story.
Okay.
But I mean, if we're gonna call a martial arts movie, West Side Story, I guess could be like a martial arts musical in some way. You know?
Yeah. It's got Filipino martial arts with the knife work and
And the important part, the singing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The singing. I forgot about that.
The most important part of any self-defense situation is you have to bust out in song and dance.
Honestly, I'm surprised it's not a thing yet. Like there's the self-defense tactics of like getting naked so they won't want to fight you, of trying to confuse your attacker, creating distance. Like sing and dancing, we're talking head movement. We're talking element of surprise. We're talking getting other people around you's attention. Like, honestly, like we kind of might be onto something.
You need 3 years jazz tap to be in this dojo. You better be classically trained, sir.
I'm pretty sure Bruce Lee had some sort of like of
he was a dancer.
Stuff.
He was a dancer. He was the ballroom dancing champion, I do believe.
Oh, see, I was going to go with the joke from like where in the movies where every time somebody falls down, he steps on them. That was going to be like a tap joke.
The jazz tap.
But he actually does.
Yeah.
They just slow it down a lot.
Well, let's take that note and let's move on to our fantasy beef since we're talking about martial arts movies, right? And so let's go and pull up the tail of the tape here. This is one you chose, and I thought this was absolute gold. All right, so Tail of the tape, Kevin McAllister versus the Three Ninjas. Kevin McAllister in Home Alone 1 was 8 years old. He is 4'4" in that movie. He is about 55 pounds. Somehow people online, by the way, know all of this information. I don't know how. And the note is he did defeat 2 grown-ups using booby traps. So,
yes.
And by the way, if you really want to watch something really creepy, there's a movie called Better Watch Out. And it is basically the horror movie version of Home Alone set in Christmas time. And it is, first of all, it's a fantastic movie. But second of all, it's terrifying to see what those booby traps would really do to a human being. Because the paint can to the face, if you think that they're just going to be like, oh, that hurt, I'm down, you are wrong. Like, there is science here, people. The Three Ninjas, by the way, I have to say, one of my all-time favorite when I was a child, so
easily
12. Oh, yeah, for sure. Rocky was 12, Colt was 11, Tum Tum was 8. Heights vary, weights vary. I didn't have the time or didn't care enough to give 2 shits about doing all of that and footwork there. Notes, they did defeat the Hulk Hogan on Mega Mountain. It is the worst of almost all the movies, but they did defeat him. So let's talk about it. What are you thinking here? Because I have a scenario in my head, but I want to know your thoughts.
Man, so my first thought when I wanted to set these 2 up was, what's the location? Like, where is this fight? And I think the only fair place to put it would be, like, maybe it's Kevin's house.
I have the same thought. I think the only way to make this fair is you have to put it in Kevin's location because that's the only advantage he has.
Right. Yeah. And also, the Three Ninjas are well versed at traveling. They move around a lot. Like, they go to different places, amusement parks, Japan. So
that's about it, really.
Yeah, that's about
Grandpa's
it.
House.
That's kind of it. Yeah, outside. They go outside a lot. So this is a tough one. Like, I've been thinking about this a lot. And they are ninjas, but they also kind of like, they're kids. They're not the most coordinated. So it makes you wonder, like, if these traps get set off by adults, are kids going to fall for them as well?
Well, I would hope that, then again, maybe the 2 dudes who fell for the traps were just the most incompetent human beings on the planet, which I would imagine so, right? Like,
sure.
Based off, like, look, dude, like, you're coming in a window, right? And you're barefoot. You're not going to, like, even glance at the ground to notice that there's nothing but Legos and ornaments on the floor. What a moron. But yeah, I will say this. I want to go ahead and show this first clip so that way we can see at least what the Three Ninjas are bringing to the table. Because everybody has seen Home Alone, but not everybody necessarily has seen this very niche movie. So let's see them in action a little bit. You can kind of get a feel, right? So I have to talk over these so that way the algorithm doesn't bump into copyright. But at the same time, if you look, right, this fight seems great because it shows off all 3 of them, right? Individually. Yeah. He just whooped 2 adults, right? Tum Tum's over there being short.
Yep. Shin kicking.
Look at that. A little rope-a-dope. Like, check out the hand right to the testy shot there.
100%.
Yeah, look at that. This dude can dodge swords, man. A child. Yeah.
And I mean, that's like the first indicator of maybe, harmful weapons that he's immune to,
Yeah, maybe they're just a little too slick for that. Maybe it's not going to happen the way that you think it's going to happen.
It's very possible. However, you have to take into account that every time the Three Ninjas do anything, they either kia or they have a bonk sound. So you know what I mean? So like every time they're kicking somebody, it's like a kia or like a or anytime they jump through anything, it's like a aya. So they're making themselves more predictable. I can understand that. So Kevin's gonna know where they are in the house. Like they open a door, and then all of a sudden Kevin's like, they're at the door, and then like they're at the door. I just moved to another bedroom from here. The
kung fu sounds go with them. They're walking like. They're like, dude, turn down the kung fu sound. It's too loud. Yeah. Kevin can hear it.
Anytime anything, like maybe if they, I guess if they're not hitting people, it doesn't really matter. But anytime they're kicking anybody, like they hit somebody in the groin, you get like a bonk, or goofy sounds anytime anything's being hit.
Well, I imagine when they show up, they show up to the house, right? They're going to see the sticky bandits or the wet bandits, depending on whatever they decide to call themselves at the moment. And so they're probably going to have to fight them to get to McAllister, almost like Enter the Dragon type style, where they have like levels and bosses, right? You can't get to Kevin McAllister until you beat the bandits, you know, like you got to kick Marv in the groin 80 times, you know, and he's a tough dude. They're tough dudes. They just take the punishment.
Yeah, they really do. And you kind of like think about how evenly matched they are. In the first three ninjas, like they're beating off these goofy goons. It's, you know, you got to think, would Kevin be able to beat the guys that the three ninjas beat, and vice versa? And I think they could. So I think on a playing field here, on the kids' ability to beat who else they had beaten, I think we're pretty evenly matched.
Well, I actually have a clip here that will kind of give us some context as to what it would be like if actual competent people decided to fight Kevin McAllister. So let's go ahead and roll this clip, and you can see the outcome of competence if you had actual legitimate robbers here. So let's go ahead and see what this would look like in just full context.
We now return to Home Alone with competent robbers.
Hey, be careful. There's cars on the floor here.
Thanks. That's weird, huh?
Yeah, the doorknob was really hot, but I just let go instead of holding onto it.
And there's some ice on the stairs to the basement, so I guess just don't go down there.
Just so you guys know, I have a tarantula.
Well, now there are no witnesses.
I mean, this looks pretty clean cut to me if that happened. I mean, you know, I watched, by the way, just as a little side note here, I watched Home Alone last night. I watched Home Alone 2 because I had already seen Home Alone 1 because I like how the frame just stays on the dead body.
It's just still there.
Just as the frame is just staying. Herbert, you're the man. All right, so when it comes down to it, though, I actually had a script in my head of like how this would go. Like, all right, let's fast forward. Kevin McAllister got away with so much stuff because he is a fraud as a child. Let's just be honest about this, right? Kevin McAllister in those movies gets away with a lot because he is a con man even at a young age, right? So I imagine if we fast forward and we redid these movies, right? We're like, all right, we're going to fast forward. We're going to go Home Alone 3, but not like a crappy one, not like the one they really made, but like a good one.
Of course. Yeah.
Kevin McAllister is now an adult, right? Yeah. But his profession is a con man. Right, that's who he is now. And so the irony is now Kevin McAllister is now the bad guy. He's a bad guy. He's not the bad guy, but he is a bad guy. Because what does he do in all those other movies? He commits credit card fraud. He steals from the store. He winds up having all these booby traps. Like, what kind of sick individual kid knows how to do all that? Like, you're fucked up in the head. So you take Kevin McAllister, and now he's like 40-something, maybe 50 years old, right? But he is a professional con man. And then you have Marv and Harry, I'm pretty sure that's their names, and then they're still con men, right? But they're now jaded, right? And so they finally find they're going to have a big score. And they're like, all right, we got this big score. We're finally going to be able to do the thing. But Kevin McAllister also has that same score. And then irony, they meet each other, and then they have to fight each other the same old school way, but they're both bad guys, and they're all both trying to steal from something. And I see. And I think that would be the logical conclusion to the Home Alone series.
Yeah, that would make much more sense because they're very obviously like they were the same type of kids, you know, but to different intelligence levels. So if all three of them were kids, Kevin would be like the ringleader and he would have his goons.
Yeah, for sure. And like, if they're adults now, right? Because you never saw them really rough Kevin up because it's a kid's movie, right? But them as an adults, they finally get a hold of Kevin. They're going to rough that dude up finally, right? Yeah. And then, you know, and in my head, how it all goes down is the end of that movie is they all go to jail. And then that's the end of the movie.
And then that's it. He's just like, man, I'm going to have to call my parents to bail me out.
Rich parents. Like, what does Kevin McAllister's parents do? They have just droves of money to go and take all their family of 85 kids or some crap like that to like Paris. Like, dude, what do y'all do?
Yeah, right. And how have you not hired somebody to just make sure your kid is with you?
At what point are you just bad parents? Let's just be honest here.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, so with that said, though, I think you mentioned it earlier. Three Ninjas did beat Hulk. Like, they beat Hulk Hogan. I think that with enough of the like ninja training that they had done, you know, jumping through the hoops, doing all the different ninja things, it's like I think they have just enough to take the edge against the traps. Because let's be honest, it's more so what can Kevin set up versus what can the three ninjas physically do. And in my
head, I think Tum Tum dies. I think he's the only one that doesn't make it. I think the other two are finally able to get to him and take him out. But that's because Tum Tum's the incompetent one. So he'd be the only one who would like screw up and slide down like a one of those Hot Wheel cars down the steps, taking himself out.
Well, you add one like poisoned pie and Tum Tum's done for. Like it just has to be one food-based trap. And it's game over for Tum Tum. You know, you put a nail on like a very easy groin kick, and Tum Tum immediately falls for that. Tum Tum's got a little too much. There's a little too much risk to go with Tum Tum. They might not even invite him. They might be like, this one's. The grandpa's like, no, Tum Tum's gonna stay back for this one. But yeah, I think that I could see that. I could see Tum Tum going.
Yeah, I think he's the only one that doesn't make it. But this is a final thought here on this particular fight before we go to the main event. I'll say that if it goes down in Kevin McAllister's house, chances are good he'll have the upper hand and may possibly win. Either way, Tum Tum's dead. When it comes down to outside anywhere else, the three ninjas take him out every time.
Yeah, baseball field, done. Japan, done. Amusement park, done.
No, especially amusement park. Amusement park. They've been there. It's not their first rodeo.
Nope.
Now, I know we wanted to, this main event is going to seem something like we've talked about before because we have, ironically enough. So let's go ahead and pull up the tail of the tape here. And we're about to have a little deja vu for the main event because the fight is happening a second time. There's a rematch now. Tyron Woodley versus Jake Paul. Tyron comes in 39 years old, 5'9", 170 pounds. Roughly, that's usually his fight weight, not his walk-around weight. Reach is 74 inches. Note, he got offered, and this is on the table, and Jake Paul so far has been a man of his word with things like this, is a $500,000 bonus if he knocks out Jake Paul. Now, I'm curious. I don't know if Tyron ever actually got the tattoo that he was supposed to the last time, but I hope he did.
I think that he did.
Oh, that's terrible.
I could be wrong, but I thought he got it on the inside of one of his fingers.
Imagine every day he sips his coffee like it's on his pinky, and he's like, I can't believe I lost to this man.
But he gets his second shot. He gets his second shot, though, which is, I feel like this is the only scenario this was going to happen, right?
For sure. And then Jake Paul, 24 years old, which I'm surprised how young he is. Like, for somebody who's so successful, he is a pretty young dude. He was able to ride that YouTube wave and just keep that going. Now, he comes off as a complete arrogant douchebag, but at the same time, he's not stupid when it comes to business. I have to give him credit. For such a young dude, he's got a business mind. He's 6'1", 198 pounds. I am under the impression that he's juicing his ass off. He's 76, got a 76-inch reach. And the reason I think he's juicing is because I've been around a lot of people over the years in the martial arts industry who were on steroids, and he has all the signs. Like, it looks like he holds the water weight a lot. He's broken out all the time. His face does not look the same as it did even a few years ago. All of those are signs of steroids. So if I had to bet dollars to donuts, that's probably what's going down. Note, he did beat Tyron Woodley before. Let's talk about it. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, as for the, usually you get the hair loss too, right? It's hard to say if that's a sign within the Paul family or not because, but other than that, when it comes to actual fighting, man, I don't know if 500,000 is enough. Tyron Woodley's kind of he's gotten paid a couple times now. I don't know if the 500,000 is going to be the game changer.
Well, the 500,000 isn't just for the fight. The 500,000
it's for the knockout.
It's for the knockout. Yeah.
Right. I don't think that I think that that's just he's going to try and knock him out anyway. I don't think it's going to set any fire underneath Tyron. Anything that wasn't, it. I don't know. So here's the thing. At what point do we say, okay, Tyron might be a little old, So I don't. So obviously he would kick my butt. So that's not the argument here. But the argument would be that I think Jake Paul wins again. Like straight up, it hurts me to say. It doesn't feel good inside. I think he wins again, and I think, yeah. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I'm like, you have this like very thought out pace of talking, and I hate to interrupt people ever, but like you have this like, you really think about what you're going to say before you say it, and I really think that that's good, because everything that you say is very thought out, but the pace is sometimes I feel like I'm interrupting and I don't mean to. So
no,
that's my bad.
In all actuality, I haven't thought about what I was going to say, and I give myself a little second to actually finish my sentence. Which maybe that's the same thing, but I don't know.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah, I just hope that I find it along the way.
I agree with you. I 100% agree. And I know that not everybody is going to think that, that's how they want it to go. But there's when you analyze a fight, you shouldn't analyze the fight with how you feel. You should analyze the fight with facts. And the fact is that Tyron Woodley is on a losing streak. He's been on a losing streak for a while now. After he lost the title, something mentally has changed in him, and he has this blockage, which sucks because he's such a good fighter. But he has this blockage where he doesn't seem to want to pull the trigger for whatever reason. I would think that, and I've said this for a very long time now, that the only thing that's going to fix that is not going to be a coach. It's going to be a psychologist. He needs to go see a doctor to find out what's going on in his head that makes him have this mental blockage. Obviously, everybody always has that same argument, by the way, which is, will he kick your ass? Of course he would. That's not what we're talking about. This fight is between
exactly.
me and Woodley. The fight is between him and Jake Paul.
Yeah.
Jake Paul's not a stupid man. And here's my theory about Jake Paul that I don't think people pay attention to.
Okay.
My favorite martial artist of all time is Miyamoto Musashi, right? Okay. My favorite. The dude was basically a hobo who went like self-taught in the woods. He went out and just challenged people from town to town and murdered all of them. So that makes him a psychotic hobo. But at the same time, he was self-taught, went from town to town, just defeated some of the best when it came to life and death, went up to the mountains, became that guy, wrote the book, all that shit. But one thing that he did that made him win most of his fights was he always showed up late. That was something that was written in the history books. He always showed up late because back in the day, fighting was extremely formal. And showing up on time was a sign of respect, and showing up late was a sign of disrespect. So what he did was always show up late to piss the other guy off, to make him more aggressive towards him, so that way he can counter. I think that's what Jake Paul's doing. And I think that that's also why he's offering the extra $500,000 for the knockout, is to give him more incentive. One, I want you to hate me. I want you to be aggressive. Two, I want you to be out of your mind just a little bit, to not think about a solid game plan, because your whole goal is to knock me out at this point. Well, if that's your only goal, then that means I could beat you on points. So I can ride this out. I can make you overextend. I can make you more aggressive. I don't think that he's stupid. I think that he's an asshole. I think that he's arrogant from the way he presents himself, at least. That's the character he's showing the world. So he might not be that way in real life. But from what I'm seeing, that's what he wants people to see. And I think it's a part of his game plan. Make the other guy pissed, make him super aggressive, so that way he's not thinking clearly, and then that's how you win.
No, I totally agree. And in fact, I think that what's going to happen. So when I think Tyron fought Gilbert Burns, I believe, we ended up getting a Tyron who, like, it almost felt like artificially was coming out the gate. You know, he was like slinging his hands. And because of that, he got himself kind of in trouble, because it was some weird combination of, he isn't exactly who he used to be. So the hands weren't quite as powerful, and the chin wasn't quite as strong. Right. And Gilbert, the younger guy, ended up putting him away. I believe. I think I'm right there. But anyway, I could see something similar happening with Jake Paul. Like, I could see Tyron Woodley throwing some bombs and then getting caught in the process. I don't think that Jake Paul like sleeps him or anything, but I think that it's very possible that Tyron can, in exchanges, leave himself a little open, and Jake Paul, who's been trying to work on being a much more technical boxer, could find some stuff and get maybe like a questionable TKO.
Well, let's look at the highlights real fast. Let's just take a look at the highlights from the last fight.
Okay.
So I have some highlights here, and I want you to just kind of pay attention to a couple of these exchanges. Now, obviously, I didn't go through all 8 rounds of the fight. But as you look, I give Jake Paul credit. I don't think that he's a terrible boxer. I think that he still obviously has a lot of work to do. But when it comes down to it, him versus somebody who also is not necessarily a boxer, it's not terrible. And now when I look at Tyron has this, it's a very strange habit of after his jab or anything off the lead hand just drastically drops, whether it be from the left hook, whether it be from the jab, whether he's setting up combinations, he always drops the lead. And even if you look at that last exchange, if you saw the last exchange, after the jab, he got hit with the counter, the check hook. And so when I'm looking at stuff like that, I hope that what's happening is he's learned from those mistakes and he's able to fix that. We would all obviously love to see Tyron win. Yeah, but Jake Paul obviously picks and chooses his fights.
Yeah, 100%.
So I don't think that he picked and chooses his fight for nothing. I think he understands now, because it's a rematch, that there's more money on the line for sure, because more people are going to be like, well, maybe it was a fluke. Maybe it was luck.
Yeah, I'm personally of the opinion that I don't think that it was. I think that Jake Paul I think he comes away with this one again. I think that there's a good chance that, I mean, you have to hope that Tyron comes out, you know what I mean? That he does the opposite of what he did in the boxing match, which people were so upset about, was kind of just stay back and be reserved. And he had just watched his buddy get knocked out by Jake Paul, and he's like, oh, he got freaking flamed for that, and Tyron isn't as impervious to embarrassment as it appears that Ben Askren is, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So I feel dude, you could pee on Askren's face in public and he would wipe it off and be like, yo, dude, just go on and get out of here. He would not be bothered. That dude,
you scamp.
Here. He's a rock.
Yeah, he really is. And I think that you're right. I think psychologically Tyron's got something going on that he's not throwing like he used to. And maybe it's because he kind of maybe he feels older. Maybe he's well, I know that I don't have what I used to have, or maybe he thinks that he doesn't and he does. I don't know. But he definitely has not been letting go recently. And when he did, it was not the best outcome.
Yeah, for sure.
So what I think could happen is that he could let go and Jake could capitalize. I mean, very similar to what you said. You give him an incentive to do one thing. It's literally just putting your head out, knowing you're a good counter striker. And when they try to punch you in the head, you pull counter. It's the exact same thing.
You just bait. Toss the bait out there and see if they take it.
It seems like he's just trying to bait him into overthrowing and not beating Jake in a technical match, which is interesting because it means that Jake is I think that I can beat him if he's trying to knock my head off, but not in a technical boxing match. It's
in a rope-a-dope, man. Muhammad Ali was the man. Get them upset, make them throw everything they have in the gas tank at you, and then when they're tired, then you take advantage of it. It's boxing 101.
Yeah, and he boxed him before, and he said, well, he didn't knock me out that time. There's what more can I possibly say to make this man want to knock me out?
Yeah, it's what's really odd too. I'll show this last clip and then we'll move forward because I think we're both under the same impression that we think Jake Paul wins this fight. But what's really crazy to me is the fact that when we we'll go ahead and play the clip and then I'll say my thought. Let's go ahead and roll that real fast and I'll say my thought.
Extra motivation, go out there and earn an extra $500,000 to knock him out.
I mean, at the end of the day, you put a bag on your own head. Shit, I'm completely all about taking that free money. You can put a bounty on your own fucking head and think I'm not going to take it. So for sure, I'm motivated by money. I'm motivated by legacy. I'm motivated by greatness, and I'm motivated by redemption. So when people say, "Oh, it's not about the money for me," they're fucking lying. Why would you be prize fighting if you didn't want to get a prize?
I mean, what we were saying, man. Obviously the bait is taken. It is taken. He does want that.
He wants it.
How will that show in the ring will be the thing. There was a fight that just recently happened between DKU and the Bradley Scott.
Yep.
and the guys over at Fight Bible, actually. So when that fight happened, everybody at DKU spent all that money. The referee was his, paid in his pocket. The judges were his. He paid for those as well. The promotion was his. And the fight was pretty much, I think, how most people expected. He ran, he hid, he dived to the floor. He got mauled by Bradley most of the time. Yeah. And then what happens? His fans treat that like a victory because he survived, right? Yeah. That's not a victory to me. So, like, kind of like when Logan Paul fought Mayweather, right? Everybody was like, oh my God, that's like, no, it's not a victory. Like, you got your ass whooped and got paid. The financial victory was there, but you did not win that fight. You got beat up. And so somehow in this particular argument, people think that if Jake Paul even just survived, that it would still be a victory. But he keeps winning, so I give him credit for that. Yeah. If you are in a fight, at the end of the day, there are no paragraphs written after the numbers. And I think people tend to forget this in the moment because it's fun to discuss. You have a record, it's wins, losses, draws. That's it. There's 3 sets of numbers there, right? There are no paragraphs after those numbers. No one's going to remember this shit later. They will remember if you won. They will remember if you lost. And so at the end of the day, I think that in order for people to really respect these particular fights, they have to be fights. And at least the last time they fought, it was a fight. I give them credit. It was a back and forth fight. Lost some rounds, won some rounds, and in the end of the day, it wound up going to Jake Paul. I hope we see another one of those. I hope we get another entertaining fight, and I hope that the undercards are used to show off real boxers who are looking to get real money. But that's my final thought on that. So let's go ahead and move on to the presser, my friend, because we've been shooting the shit here for almost an hour, so I want to make sure I don't hold the team up. But I want to take the time to kind of give you the floor for you to let people know, like, all about you, what you have going on, where they can find you. Tell me a little bit about what's going on with you, anything you have coming up.
Okay. Well, month of December, I've got a wild series of collabs coming up. I've got some stuff. Well, I can say this at this point. This is pretty. So I got the chance to meet with the Karate Nerd, and we went to Wonder Boy's place. We went to Icy Mike's place. We came back up to Raleigh. So the month of December, content-wise, if you are a YouTube martial arts fan, it's going to be prime for the picking. So if you enjoy that kind of stuff, I hope you subscribe. Other than that, though, I mean, like, you know, just like if you like funny martial arts, just like Rob said earlier, if you enjoy the like more laid back side of martial arts, the more humorous side, you know, we'd love to have. I don't always talk in robot either. So like, I know there was a moment there. That's probably what you started out with. It's not always that way.
Well, I think that I love your content. I really do. I always try to make sure that I push it and stuff like that. I like your content, but I especially like the content between you and Icy Mike, because I think you guys have a real rapport. And I think that it shows on camera, and it shows that y'all are having a good time. And at the same time, I think that the underlined tone is still serious about martial arts, even though it's fun, still showing off like some really interesting things and experiments and thoughts. And I, for one, am really looking forward to January, because when I go up there, I'll be able to finally make some content with y'all. Finally, after all these years. And then, you know, being able to work with other people and try to get together and collaborate. And one thing I talked with Mike about was the fact that sometimes we have ideas that just don't work for us for what we do, but we can give that content to somebody else and go, dude, this would be perfect for you. It doesn't work for what I do. And so I'm really looking forward to tossing those ideas back and forth. And I think this next year in 2022, I think that the amount of content that'll be unique and collaborative is going to be so much better, not only for your channel, for Mike's channel, but for mine too. Trying to make these videos too, damn it.
Let's do it. Yeah, no, it'll be fun. It'll be a really good time. It's the environment itself is like, just like I mentioned it, like it is people who enjoy martial arts who actually make a video about the stupid stuff that they do or think about. So with maybe just a little bit of thought beforehand and after, you know, like a little bit of thought and planning, and then like just weird martial artsness, and then a little bit more planning and thought. So it'll be fun. It'll be a super good time.
Well, where can people see your stuff? Where can they follow you?
If you search Sensei Seth on YouTube, if you go to @Sensei_Seth on Instagram, those are the two big ones that you'll find me on. If you want to reach me, Instagram. If you want to really enjoy the rest of your day, binge watching videos, YouTube.
Well, I appreciate you coming on the show, and I always close the show the same way. I find these clips I call your martial moment, and they're usually levity, like a little bit more fun. And so this is your martial moment. You already know what this is.
I already know what this is.
I'm getting it! Did I get you?
How many of those got through?
A couple of them. It was
Nobody can stop the juggernaut!
the last bit was the worst part for sure. And I don't know if I have it in this clip.
It's not.
Oh, it's in there. Here it comes.
Yeah, I got tired from watching.